Up next, we have a presentation from an upcoming IPO, which is SynergenMet, a thermal plasma technology specialist. To tell us more, today I am joined by Managing Director and CEO, Christopher Dunks. Good morning, Christopher.
Hi, how you going? Good morning, how you going?
Good, let me just bring up your presentation.
It's who are we and what we do. So SynergenMet is a Brisbane-based company. We've been operating since 2007, so 15 years in development. And really what our specialty is we're a clean tech company. We're using this technology called thermal plasma to do a number of things, a number of different business lines, and to building a business based out of our operations here in Brisbane. So we're generating income through selling industrial plasma equipment through a subsidiary of ours based in the United States. We treat and destroy toxic liquid waste, which is PFAS, toxic waste. And I'll talk a lot more detail about how we do that in a moment. And we're also developing and have developed an application where we split methane to make hydrogen and carbon black for different industries. We're moving into this hydrogen space with a slightly different business model than what you've been reading about in the press. And I'll go about that. I'll talk about that in a little bit more detail in a moment. But we're based here in Brisbane. We're an Australian company. It's Australian innovation. And really what we're doing here is we're providing a real option for decarbonisation and for detoxification in the industrial market. At the AFR ESG summit that happened this week, there's a lot of discussion around greenwashing and around being realistic about how companies are looking to decarbonise. We are a company, Synergen is a company that can provide that opportunity for decarbonisation, particularly using natural gas and by splitting that to make hydrogen and carbon black. And also by, in the environmental space, the PFAS issues becoming much more relevant to the industrial community. Some really interesting decisions coming out of the United States this morning, which I'll talk about as well, which will impact us in a positive way. So Synergen is based here in Brisbane. We are currently in the middle of an IPO. That IPO closes next Friday. We're raising $20 million to really grow this business hard and grow this business in a sustainable but long-term with a long-term view here and in the United States. What I'll talk about this morning will be measured in what I can talk about from a forward-looking statement perspective, given that we're in an IPO, but I really provide everything that I can so that everyone watching this webinar can get a good understanding of what we are. I do realize I only have about 6 or 7 minutes left, but so our ticker will be SH2. IPO is going well, and we're looking at these business lines: hydrogen production, the destruction of PFAS, and Phoenix Solutions Co., which is an existing 60-year-old business which we've acquired based out of Minneapolis in Minnesota that sells plasma heating systems. So to talk about our hydrogen production, we produce hydrogen by splitting natural gas or biomethane directly into hydrogen and solid carbon. So we have 2 revenue streams with our hydrogen production, which is hydrogen and carbon black. Having those 2 revenue streams actually is a very strong economic prospect for anyone that's actually implementing this technology. We're not relying purely on that hydrogen revenue stream to make the business model work, and that carbon black and value adding to that carbon black is really very much in the forefront of our development over the next 12 to 24 months in generating a lot of value out of that carbon. And by generating more value out of that carbon that we generate from this process it means that a hydrogen price can come right down. It's a very exciting area, and I'll explain it to you how it works this is it. So how does this work? It's fairly simple in concept. We take natural gas or biomethane. This is going to be coming from it can be coming from a coal seam gas well, from a conventional gas well. It can come from a gas pipeline into an industrial facility where our equipment is located. This is modular plant. It sits and it co-locates with the end user's requirement for the use of hydrogen. And we take that natural gas, we condition it to make sure that there's very low impurities and it's a high concentration of gas. And we run that through our plasma system. So plasma is essentially generating an electric current in a gas, and that electric current is a very high temperature and has a lot of energy, and that splits that CH4 into carbons and hydrogens. That hydrogen is very high concentration, and the carbon then drops out of the gas phase and becomes a very high spec carbon black product. And those two products are separated. The hydrogen can be stored or used immediately as a basic hydrogen without being refined to be used in vehicles, for example. And the carbon black is captured and can be used into the global carbon black market. And we are looking at adding value to that carbon black by creating other products where there is a higher value return from that carbon material. So clean hydrogen production from methane pyrolysis is a really interesting process. It's different from what you're hearing in the press about green hydrogen, inverted commas, green hydrogen. This is a very simple process that we don't use water in our process. We're not consuming water. Electrolysis consumes 9 kilos of water for every kilogram of hydrogen that's generated. We don't consume any water here. We're literally just splitting natural gas. If we have renewable energy generated, which is used to power our process, there's no greenhouse gas emissions generated, and our product is as clean as green hydrogen. It's a very scalable process here. We're looking at a market which is very different from what you've been hearing in the press. We're looking at markets where we're co-locating with the customer and the end user. We don't need massive plant. We don't need massive transport. We just butt into the existing infrastructure that is on that site. For example, if we're working in the coal mines, we're taking degassed methane from those mines. We put our plant right there and the hydrogen can be used straight away. If we're working with an industrial customer where they're wanting to turn their methane into hydrogen to use for heating, we can locate our equipment on that site. So there's no cost for transportation of hydrogen, which is $4 a kilo. So that's a major part of that cost, which everyone's trying to get down. The elemental carbon black products, as I've talked about, can be sold for various different purposes and has a revenue stream. We can rapidly roll these out. We'll be running our first project at the beginning of next year with a group called Untitled Energy. I'll talk about that in a minute. And we can roll these out very, very quickly. We'll be in operation early next year. A lot of these green hydrogen projects won't be operational until 2025, 26, but we'll be making hydrogen early next year. Our process utilizes a third of the energy input that electrolysis has to produce the same amount of hydrogen. So it's a very thermally efficient process, and therefore it makes it very cost efficient. So our first project here is with a group called Untitled Energy. They're a Brisbane-based group that has a large coal seam gas field in Botswana. We're building a pilot small commercial scale unit there with them. It's about 130 kilos a day of hydrogen production, about 400 kilos of carbon production. So in detailed engineering, it will be starting next week on this project. We're looking to kick that off and actually be operating it on site early next year. We'll be fabricating and assembling this plant at our own facility in Brisbane in a suburb called Wacol, and we'll be doing a factory acceptance test there as well, and then packaging it up and sending it across. So it's a plug and play facility on site. Talau have a very advanced group on site. They know exactly what they're doing. They're running this gas field and they'll be operating this equipment. So we're really excited to be working with Talau on this first project. We have many projects that are being lined up, second, third, and fourth projects will be coming on stream sometime in 2023, early 2024. There's a lot of attention on our technology because of the offering of not requiring new infrastructure, being able to butt into the existing infrastructure, and the costs that are generated out of this are very competitive. So very excited about our hydrogen application, and we're getting a lot of attention for it. So coming into this IPO process, we've got a real application here which can decarbonize, and are very excited to roll this out. Our next application here is destruction of PFAS. I'm assuming that most people have seen press about PFAS. PFAS are toxic molecules that are found in modern life, in water and in soil and in concrete. And so a subsidiary of ours, we've invented a process to concentrate the PFAS molecules using a froth flotation process. And then we've invented a process where we can destroy those molecules safely. And to our knowledge, we're the only company that we know of that can actually destroy these chemicals properly and safely and bind them into something else, which is non-toxic, which I'll talk about in a second. So PFAS are called forever chemicals, and the reason why they're called forever chemicals is there's a fluorine carbon bond in the molecular chain, which is incredibly strong. And to break that fluorine carbon bond, you need to expose it to very high energy. And from our perspective, that's more than 1450 degrees Celsius, which is what we can do. But the problem is when you expose that energy and you split apart that molecule, that fluorine wants to recombine back into PFAS or other nasty molecules. So what we do is we bind that fluorine with hydrogen. We make hydrogen fluoride, which we scrub, and we end up with calcium fluoride, which is in your toothpaste. So it's a non-toxic end product that won't leach and won't cause any medical or health issues in the environment. So we've come up with these two processes. So we concentrate the PFAS using froth flotation, and then we destroy it using this plasma system, which is proprietary to us. This is all our internal IP. It's Australian IP. We've been working with the University of Queensland under an Australian Research Council grant for the last few years to make this work. We're very, very proud of what we've been able to achieve. And we've done this test work on groundwater, on construction water. We've done it on AFFF, which is the firefighting foam, which is very high concentration of PFAS. We've done it on wastewater treatment plant sludge water, and we've done it on landfill leachate. The PFAS market is exploding. The understanding of where PFAS is in the environment and in our modern life is suddenly starting to become made more aware. I mean, it's in every leachate under a waste dump that's been running since 1960. It's in every wastewater treatment plant on the planet. It's in soil and water that sit under every airport. This stuff is everywhere. This is a significant problem that the world's facing. And the opportunities for us as a company coming to market with this technology is absolutely fantastic. We've just finished a trial. It's a commercial trial at a waste dump in southeast Queensland, where we were processing 20,000 litres a day of concentrate of PFAS in leachate. Leachate's the nasty, very nasty water. And we were removing 100% of the large chain and the medium chain PFAS molecules and then destroying those. So we're at a point where we're rolling this out on a commercial scale and we're building the team based around that. And a lot of our IPO proceeds will be used to roll these projects out here and in the United States. We're building a destruction facility in Brisbane, and we're also building a destruction facility in South Carolina, where there is a significant issue with PFAS. We've acquired this company called Phoenix Solutions Co. They're based in Minneapolis, a suburb of Minneapolis called Plymouth in Minnesota. So Phoenix Solutions is, they've been around for 60 years. They're one of the 2 leading plasma equipment suppliers on the planet. They have a team of 18. Their technology is used for melting incinerator ash in Japan. It's used for destroying toxic waste with Kobe steel. They've been working in Japan for about 30 years. They've got 6 different sites where they're continually in continuous operation. And their equipment is being more and more utilized for gasification of waste, meaning very, very high temperature separation, splitting of waste down into their base elements, and then forming of that forms the syngas, and you can burn or use that syngas for generation of energy. So Phoenix Solution are our main supplier for our hydrogen technology, and we decided last year that the company was really needed some financing and needed some financial support. And the best way for us to move forward as a business was to have them as one of our subsidiaries. They've got a strong forward book of revenue. When we list and when we start trading, that revenue stream obviously will give us a good foundation of income moving forward as we build the PFAS and the hydrogen business lines. And they also have a tremendous technical capability. So really what Phoenix bring is this core of this plasma technology. And what Synergen has done is we've got a team around that technology, and we're looking at all the different applications that we can use on the decarbonisation space, also detoxification space. I'm really excited about this acquisition and bringing the team on board, and they're very excited to come on board with us. We acquired them for scrip, we paid down some debt, and now we're looking forward to really leveraging through this IPO their capability and to grow it very strongly globally. So just very, very simply, if we just go to the next slide and then I can finish up, Jane. We're currently in an IPO, we're raising $20 million. We're going to be coming through with a 120 million market cap. The use of funds is going to be to roll out hydrogen projects, to roll out multiple PFAS projects, to develop a value add in this carbon material that we're producing, and also to fund this Phoenix Solutions company with a strong working capital facility so they can really leverage into the global market more than they've been able to do in the past. So it's been my pleasure to be able to present to everybody today. It's a slightly different talk than what you've probably been looking at before this. But we're really excited to come to market. We think that we're going to make a big difference in this clean tech space, and we're looking forward to doing more webinars with Jane over the next 12 to 18 months.
Well, Chris, thank you for the great presentation. We've run slightly over, but I will jump into one question from a
Sure.
Twitter our attendee actually. So You mentioned that the first unit is being manufactured in Australia.
Yes.
However, is there an option to manufacture overseas, perhaps close to the installation location? I mean, the project that you're working with in Botswana.
Yes, certainly in 12, 24, 36 months. So the plan, we've done this before with other applications where we've fabricated them ourselves, and the learnings that we've done two different options. We had a third party fabricate, and then we did the assembly ourselves. And the learnings that we generated when we did it ourselves was really significant. So the first, second, third projects will be fabricated and assembled by ourselves. The detailed fabrication will be done by third parties, but really assembled, pre-commissioned, commissioned by us. And the learnings are significant. So we need the team to be able to understand exactly what we're doing, how we're putting it all together, and then roll those learnings into option number 2, number 3. And then we'll be looking for third-party fabrication. For example, South Africa has fabulous fabrication capability, but we don't want to go there until we've actually had this understanding of what we're actually doing, so that we can make sure that that's done properly when it's offshore.
Wonderful. Well, Chris, that is all we have time for. There are a few other questions, so I will forward them through to you. But
Awesome.
for any webinar attendees who are interested in participating in the IPO, you can reach out to us at info@brokerbriefing.com and we can pass on your details.
Cheers.